All right, just so I'm not the one holding things up, I'm going to get started. Hello, my name is Cory Fowler. I'm a Windows Azure Technical Evangelist from Microsoft Corp, way over on the other side of the coast, the other continent. My focus is PHP developers, so it's my job to make sure that you guys are having a great experience on our platform. So if you want to take down my email address, I'll put it up on the screen later. And basically, if you decide to try the platform, if you run into any problems, we have some great forums that you can go to, which is great if you want to sit there and wait for an answer. But you can also ping me over email and say, hey, I'm running into this issue. Can you check it out for me? So I'll get my email up there a little bit later. So Mark did a pretty good job this morning of identifying what's new or what is Windows Azure. But I just want to go through and clarify a couple of points, just in case you weren't here or you weren't paying attention, you're a little bit more focused on the title. And then we're going to go through and take a little bit about websites, virtual machines, and then the SDK for PHP on Windows Azure. So what is Windows Azure? Windows Azure is our cloud computing platform. It was built to be flexible, open, and solid. And the open part of it is the part that we're here to talk to you about today. We're an open platform to the point where we're looking for people with open source development habits and open source projects to come out and deploy on our platform, because it doesn't really matter what you run. We run Node.js, PHP, Python. There's Java available in cloud services, and we'll talk about a little bit of stuff of the differences between the different offerings on our platform. Mark went over this morning. We have 8 data centers worldwide with 24 CDN nodes. Does anyone know what a CDN node is? Has anyone used CDN before? Hopefully, most people. So basically, you have the ability to deploy out to any one of our data centers or multiple data centers, and we also have a traffic manager that is another load balancer that we put in front of it that will route your traffic to any one of these data centers. So you can do performance-based routing and have your application deployed in North America, have your application deployed here in Europe, and route between them based on the ping timeout coming back from the server. And one of the key aspects is you only have to pay for what you're going to use. So we have a couple of different offerings, a couple of different ways to scale out those offerings, and within the websites offering that I'm going to be talking about in a second, we also have 2 different ways where we have a free version that you can use, you can deploy code out to, and just use it in a shared environment. So, as Mark mentioned, we have the websites, virtual machines, and cloud services. I'm going to focus primarily on websites and virtual machines today, just because that's the area where I expect the most of you are going to want to move to today. But there's nothing to say that our cloud service offering isn't good. It's a platform as a service offering. There aren't that many people that are building applications in that sort of methodology in PHP today. There's a few, and we do have tools available for that, but they're available only for Windows. And as you can see, I'm developing on my Mac today. So we'll just go around and play with some Mac tools. And the building blocks that I'm going to be talking about today is storage and the service bus connectivity. I have a couple slides with code on it, just because I was a little bit worried about the amount of time if I was going to live code, if the internet connectivity would allow me to upload those samples or whatnot. So I'm going to try and do as much uploading and showing the platform off as much as possible, but I am going to fall back on some slides for code. So our websites, basically the concept for websites is we want you to be able to get up and running within seconds. So we made the platform and built it in such a way that it's going to be quick at your fingertips. You're going to find a way to deploy that suits you and gets your application, your code up there as quickly as possible. So the concepts behind that is start simple. Today we're giving out 10 free websites. Those websites will be available not only for the 90-day free trial, but as soon as you start that website, you have that available for free for at least a year. and you can just go out and start deploying code and see if Windows Azure will work for you. You can create new sites in just a few clicks, and just a few clicks I kind of laugh at, because yeah, sure, you can go ahead and you can use our pretty neat HTML5 portal, but the way I actually like to do it is straight from our command line tools that Mark kind of alluded to this morning, and that avoids the clicks altogether. I don't like taking my hands off the mouse as much as I can, so I just kind of go ahead straight from the command line tools and get things built out, and we'll be showing off some of that today. If you have a lot of traffic coming to your site, you might be in a shared mode, which gives you a small bandwidth limitation. You might want to increase the number of sites you have running in that shared mode. Or you can flip over to what's called the reserve mode, and that takes all your code and puts it out onto your own independent virtualized server of the website's kind of component that we have running, and all of those sites are running independently on that, and you can scale that up as well. So what that does is it removes those quotas that you have to worry about and gives you the free rein to go out and deploy your sites and have as much traffic coming to it as you want. Be brilliant. We want you to use the tools that you are best suited to use. So develop on PHP, develop on Linux, Mac, or Windows. It doesn't really matter to us. We're going to give you the tools so that you can keep your development skills up and going with whatever language you're working on today and in whatever environment you're in today. If you are on Windows, I will plug one thing. There's this really neat tool called Webmatrix, and it's a very lightweight IDE for developing PHP or Node apps on Windows. So if you want, you can try that out. There's a really quick way to deploy out through the portal to use that, but totally hands-off. You don't need to do it if you don't want to. And then going live, I'm going to be showing off our Git push methodology today. But you have the ability to use FTP, and how many people actually use FTP to deploy still? Quite a few, or one? Everyone else using Git, or do you have your own servers in-house that you're doing like X copies over, or copies? Okay. And then another component of going live is we actually expose a lot of log information straight out of the box, so you have the ability to go in and figure that out. But I've done enough talking. Let's get right into a demo. So the canonical PHP application is the Hello World demo. So instead of you watching me type out PHP and get the PHP info, what I thought I'd do is start off by just showing off our command line tools. So I already have my index.php file here, and I've installed the Windows Azure command line tools for Mac. And as you can see, it does have some pretty snazzy ASCII art at the top. But essentially what you can do is from these command line tools, you have the ability to start out a website, look into what that website's doing, check out the log information, spin up VMs. We have 4 separate distributions, or I guess we have 3 distributions, but 4 images for Linux VMs on Windows Azure, and I can show you how to get those started up. And then in the future, like I said, we don't have it quite today, you'll have the ability to package up and deploy to cloud services using these same tools. We're just working towards getting that functionality put together right now. So if you look at Azure's site, we have a number of things that you can do. You can list all the websites in your account. You can create new sites, look at the portal, start or stop your site. You have a lot of flexibility as to what you want to do. So what I'll do is just clear this, and we'll start off by saying Azure site create. Does anyone want to give me a name? Cakephp. I'm just going to prefix that with, because I might have created another VM with Cakephp before. And then straight from the command line, you can actually include Git integration. So I'm just going to, after my Azure site create, I provide the name for my site, I say --git, and what that's going to do is set up a repository both on my local machine and on my website, so I can just quickly go and sync up using Git. So what this is doing right now is I've already loaded in my credentials for interacting with my Azure instance, Basically, what you do is you download this publish settings file, and within that publish settings file is an encrypted certificate. They basically just decode it into a byte array and then push it in there. But then this kind of hydrates it, installs the certificate on your machine, and then that's what gives you access back and forth to your site. So as you can see, within a couple of seconds, I have my site created. So what I'm going to do is just say git add, and I'll add the file that I already had there into the repository. I'll just commit that file. And then basically what I can do is say git push Azure master. And basically that's going to go out after entering my password. It will just deploy that website back out to the portal. So you can see here, this is the nice portal. We can just go and click the websites area. And essentially when that, sometimes some latencies, the portal actually will drop things in as they get added. So you'll be in the CLI tools and you'll add them in. It'll just drop into this list. But sometimes on low connectivity internet, on like low bandwidth internet, some of the JavaScript hooks get kind of missed out. So you can see here now that we've managed to get into our portal. I'm just going to go into this deployments tab, and you can see that I've deployed something with Git. So I'm just going to swipe back over, clear this out, and say Azure Site Browse. So even straight from the CLI tools, I can just go right to my site, and you can see, hey, hello world, and then the PHP information. So one thing to note, this is PHP 5.3. How many people are still developing on PHP 5.3? Good portion of you. Has anyone moved up to 5.4 already? About the same, but different crowd. Is anyone still using 5.2? Excellent. Yeah, that's what I like to hear. So that's kind of interesting. We have that site up there in seconds. But what I'll do is I'll just kind of take a list and go in and edit this file. Because I don't want to say hello world, I want to say hello Cakefest. We are here at Cakefest. We want to say hello to everyone. So just change this. Go back out here, we'll say git add, and we'll commit that file again. And then we'll just push back to Azure. There is a reason I'm showing this crazy redundancy. Get the password right. There you go. So if we jump back into the portal here, I was here in the deployments, and basically as it's going up, it's going to push out to Azure. It drops in nicely for you, and once it actually is ready to be in the active deployment, it switches over. So that's great. I went in. I can go back to my site here now, refresh. Where did I push you to? Interesting.
Didn't you change the browser title?
Oh, did I change the title instead of the H1? Oh, I did change the title. That's disappointing. We'll deploy one more time. Sorry about that. So how many people have actually deployed something before and accidentally did something like this where they wanted to kind of roll back? Pretty much everyone? There we go. Okay. So we'll have another deployment drop in here in a second. And basically, what I want to show off here is once we go and we deploy something out, say we made a mistake and, Cakefest, we were going to announce it too early when we went in there, we can actually, in the portal, go in and just hit redeploy, and it'll ask us if we want to go back to our original version. And then what we can do is just say Azure Site Browse, bring up the site, and back to Hello World. Go back to the command line tools. What I can say is Azure Site Deployment list. That's going to go out, get the same listing of deployments from the portal, and I can just copy and paste, if I can find my, there we go. So if I now say Azure site deployment redeploy and paste in that token, what it's going to do is go back and it's going to ask me if I want to actually redeploy that deployment, and I'll say yes. We'll check out the portal. It's gone back up to the active deployment as fix, and now we have Hello Cakefest. So not only do you have a nice quick way of going and deploying things, but if it's a little bit too fast and you deploy something that you didn't mean to deploy, you can go back and quickly redeploy an existing commit and hopefully get back on track. So that basically shows off some of the functionality around websites and some of the workflow that you can get out of it. But let's take a little bit of more of a look through the portal. So you notice that we have real-time monitoring here. So we've gone out, we've started to hit this site, so we can start seeing some metrics come in. So we have like CPU time, data in, data out, and this will help you figure out, if you are using a paid version, how much your bill is going to be, when you actually see things coming in. But it can actually help you out a little bit as well. And I've just clicked over to the monitor tab here. We go to add metrics. I can go in and add, say, 403 to figure out if someone was browsing to my site and trying to hack in, or I can go to 404 errors. And I actually did this recently. And what I did is I took my blog, and I was using a .NET blog engine, moved it here to Windows Azure under WordPress, and then went into this tool and said, all right, give me the 404 errors. And I quickly went out and figured out how many people were coming from sites that have linked to my previous blog that I'm missing out on when I was coming in, and I've switched everything around. So I went into WordPress, I fixed up the permanent links, got it to the same kind of path looking that it was with my old blog engine, and now I have something that's up and running and pretty quick to discover. And all of this is right out of the box, which is pretty cool. Is anyone pretty excited about this, or is it only me? I know I kind of get paid to get excited about it, but it's still pretty exciting. So, considering we're at Cakefest, it's always nice to see that Cakephp is running straight on Windows Azure, and you can see here that we have cakephp.azurewebsites.net. So I went and deployed this last night. So basically, to get to this, oh, it says it's higher than 5.2. Yeah. So we can go here, and I'll just use the portal for this one. Go create with database. You'll notice here that we have create a SQL database, and we have MySQL database options. So you can either create a new MySQL database or choose an existing one, which is pretty neat. And you can just go and say Cakefest, and I already have one, so I'll have to do Cakefest 1. And that will go out and create our new Cakephp install. So the only thing that I did to the base Cakephp installer was I went in and got the web.config file from cakephp.org, and just dropped it into the folder, uploaded it, and it worked. So it's pretty cool to see, how much hard work you guys put into it, and it works in IE because the subsystem is Internet Explorer. So that's kind of an interesting thing, and so you can go out and build Cakephp apps today. So the other thing is virtual machines. Everyone basically knows how to set up Linux, right? I bet you anything, everyone out here is probably a lot better at it than I am. But I just want to show you quickly the workflow between setting up a Linux VM. So you can go in here, we have CentOS, we have SUSE, and we have Ubuntu. And you can basically go out and set these up straight out of the portal. We have a partner that's working with us to provide these. So the last thing you'd want is Microsoft trying to figure out how to run your Linux distro. We're not. We're letting someone that's knowledgeable, knows how to do it. They manage all that for us, and we just host it on our platform. So one thing I'm going to do is just to kind of show you the flexibility is I actually have the management portal popped up on my iPad. So I'm just going to quickly pop through and create my new virtual machine from the iPad. And we'll just drop this one out. So I'm typing from gallery, the same kind of workflow that we just did. Just going up, I'm checking the Ubuntu server, adding a quick name, creating a username called super user, and just a very quick secure password. There we go. So the next step here is just telling me a DNS name that I want to hit. So I'm just going to say Cakephp 2. And I just froze Safari. There we go. So we'll just say Cakephp 2. Might have to back up to here. There we go. Might have to drop the iPad. It's just being a little bit too slow for my liking. So we can actually do the same thing from the command line. So we'll just say Azure VM. Take a look here. What do we need? We need an image. So I'm going to list out an image. Azure VM image list. We have a nice big long list of them here. We can just pick any one at random. So there's Ubuntu. So just copy that to my clipboard. One thing that you can do is if you're not quite sure what you need to do, you can just say -H at any time and it's going to list out that whole listing of options. So we can say Azure VM create -H. And basically this is going to get us the options we need. So we need a DNS name. So Azure VM create, provide that DNS name. We'll say Cakephp 2. Provide the image name, which we just copied to the clipboard. And then we need a location. And I'm just going to say West US. And that should be everything we need. Oh, a username. Don't want to forget a username. Super user. And don't copy down my password because you know it's super secure. And basically that's going to go out and it's going to start creating our Linux provisioned VM. No location which is found with this name or name. I think it's US then location.
Can you get it so that you don't have to type in the password in your...
You can actually script all this stuff out. So if we were to say,
So you can get a prompt for it instead?
oh, you can't get a prompt for it. So we went this way for a reason. We didn't want to go with an interactive prompt because we wanted people to be able to script out and execute just scripts to create large VM environments. So if you needed to spin up, say, 10 different servers quickly at once, you can create the script one time, go in, or create a script with some parameters, and it would spin up as many instances as you needed. So that's why we kind of avoided doing the interactive prompt. Is that all right?
So if you wanted to hide a password and not have it open...
Not have it in plain text?
We all work in offices where people look over our shoulders and stuff.
Yeah. So if you wanted to avoid it, that's actually interesting. It's a suggestion I can make to the team. Uh, but if you wanted to avoid having someone see the password that you're typing in, I would probably suggest using the portal at that point, because that uses the password button. But I can see if we can add an interactive option, so you can do like -I or something, and we can actually prompt for the password.
Should use private key file,
Exactly.
like Amazon does. It's easier.
Well, you can do that. You can upload an SSH key from the,
Oh, there you go.
yeah, from here. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so -T, you can upload an SSH cert. Yeah. Does that fix the problem instead of having to type a password? Okay.
I have a question.
Yep.
Not on VMs, but on playing with Git. What if I want to run a post script for my deploying, like upgrading my database or whatever?
We've thought of that. These features are still in preview right now. So they're constantly adding things. I don't know if it's on the timeline right now, but we probably see about adding some sort of post-deployment. Right now, unfortunately, it doesn't work with PHP quite yet. It'll be coming up relatively soon. But if you deploy with .NET or Node.js, it will actually go in and run NuGet or run npm and then download all your dependencies. So we're looking at providing a composer model where you just upload your composer.json and it will download your dependencies for you, but we're still working on that functionality right now. Time or 5 minutes? 5 minutes over. Ouch. Okay. Let me just toss up my email address so you guys can email me. There you go. So the last line here is my email address. You can go out and get the SDK from either Composer, Pair, or GitHub, and I can get you the links there if you email me directly. Cool. Thanks so much for your time today, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of Cakefest.
If anybody wants any 1-month passes that are already pre-provisioned with accounts, so you don't need to create a live ID, just come see me and I'll give